Welcome, everybody. Saturday claims there today in the la la land of adjuster world. So typically I save my long drive claims for Saturday. So just for those who are out there wondering about how I schedule stuff, and the reason why I do that is that during the day or during the week it's actually pretty busy for claims, and the weekend kind of slows down a little bit. And so it's a good time to, if you take a really long claim in the middle of the week and try to go schedule it, then it kind of messes up the rest of your claims. So I kind of save my long claims for Saturday. So it just helps to expedite the week. So yeah, so I'm on my way to Greenville, which is about an hour and 20 minutes, I guess, from my house. Well, not super far, but it's a long drive because when you add the two together, that's 2 hours and 40 minutes of drive time. So the bummer to this one is that I got all the way there. It was a rental property. There was a property manager. She said, "Oh yeah, everything will be great. You can do it on Saturday. I've already talked with the tenant. I'll let them know." Well, I should have known better because I texted the property manager and didn't hear back from them after I requested the tenant information. So just rule of thumb, if you're going to meet a tenant, make sure you get the tenant information and phone number. And I didn't do it. So I was stupid in that regard because I got all the way here and no show. The property manager didn't show up. The tenant didn't show up, and I can't get a hold of the insured. So it's all the dead end. Drove an hour and a half basically for nothing to miss out on the claim. And the downside to this one is this is a flat rate fee. So yes, I can bill for this because I have photos of the front of the house. But if they call and want to reschedule, I don't get paid for that second trip. Now, this one I am going to fight because of how far it is away. And so I will be asking for mileage charge or something to go back and re-inspect if they want to reschedule. So just keep that in mind. Just reaffirm, get the tenant's number, get their contact number, make sure you've spoken to them face to, like on the phone. Are you sure you're going to be there on Saturday at 9 o'clock? Yeah. Okay. And that way you can rest assured. I prefer the owner being there, honestly, because it's their house. They need to take responsibility. But the downside is most of the time when they have a property manager, it's because they live out of town. And I think that's the case with this one. So it is what it is. You take the good ones and the bad ones. This happened to be a bad one where I drove a long way and could not inspect it. So it is what it is. So what are you guys up to on a Saturday? Do you guys run claims on Saturday? Hey, somebody's using their texting while they're driving. Brilliant. Sitting there with the phone on the steering wheel, texting away. Yeah, I see that every day of the week. People are really not smart when it comes to driving. And I guess you could say the same thing about me doing a live stream, but I don't sit there and stare at the camera. I mean, I'm glancing back and forth, reading comments, but most of the time I'm on a highway. I'm not like city driving or something like that. So anyway, so hopefully somebody out there in La La Land will join my live. A couple people popping in, but they're not staying. So yeah, let me know what you're doing on Saturday. If you run claims on Saturday, I'd love to know. I typically in the summer run almost every Saturday just because it gets busy through the week and I save my long drives for Saturday. Just because it's a good day for a long drive because there's not that much traffic. Everybody's heading to the beach where I'm going the opposite direction. All right. Well, if you come in the chat, let me know where you're calling from or where you're logging in from, what state you're from. That would be cool to know. I'm in North Carolina, in Raleigh, and yeah, work's been interesting lately. Very, very different than normal. So normal is fast, smooth, and lots of claims. This lately has been lots of new carriers, new processes, and really slow claims. Like a lot of work that take a long time to complete. So that's not my type of claim. I really don't enjoy super long claims. So I would never be a very good large loss adjuster, like doing one large claim after another. It's not my favorite. I don't enjoy large loss claims at all. They're too detailed and they take too long. So I kind of like a claim where I can knock it out in a day, come home, you know, get everything done, turned in, and have no issues. You'll probably never see that file again. I really enjoy that. That's my favorite claim. For those out there who are maybe starting as an adjuster, it would be good for you to follow my YouTube channel. I teach people how to be adjusters, and there's a lot to it. And if you follow the path that I've set up my YouTube channel, you can do this, you can succeed, and you can skip all the errors and mistakes that I made when I was learning, because there wasn't anybody like this out there on the web or on YouTube channel that was actually teaching people how to be an adjuster. So it was all, you know, training from different firms, courses, self-taught. A lot of that. That's how I grew up learning. Was I had to have a lot of my own experience, my own teaching. Whereas now there's so much information out there teaching people how to do it. It's a whole lot easier. But you can still make mistakes. So it'd be good to avoid those if you could. Welcome everybody. Happy Saturday. We're driving back from a claim where it was a no-show. So I drove an hour and 20 minutes to the claim. I was supposed to meet a tenant and a property manager, and neither one of them showed up. So sat there for 45 minutes waiting, and no calls, no return calls, no text answered. Goes straight to voicemail. Called the insured, couldn't get them. So I drove out here for no reason, and probably will end up having to come back when they decide to call. So that's a very frustrating part of adjusting. So where are you guys listening from? What state are you guys in? Are you getting lots of work, or are you new adjusters? Or are you just looking into it? Let me know in the chat what stage you are in. Hey, DVA, the toilet. You're so funny. I don't admit to it when I'm on the toilet and watching somebody, so at least you're brave enough to say that. People ask me what I'm doing, and I'll say, oh, just getting ready to go. That's my answer, getting ready to go. But they don't know where I'm getting ready to go. So, yeah. But I don't tell people I'm on a toilet. That's brave. Oh, anyways, deviate. Let's see. That's the only time I get on Facebook. Well, LOL. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, it definitely. I spend way too much time on social media for sure. I actually met my girlfriend. I say girlfriend because it's looking like it. I met her on TikTok. So pretty exciting about that. I've been 5 years out of my last marriage. So pretty excited. Tampa realtor and licensed adjuster looking to find work. Oh, very cool. Well, Florida's an awesome place to find work. The downside is you got to deal with a lot of PAs, which are public adjusters, and they're really annoying. I've not worked since April. We're headed out scalping today. Oh wow, very cool. Well, you've worked enough in the last 6 months or 8 months, or a year actually, probably more than most of anybody has. So you deserve a break there, DV8. I wouldn't feel bad at all. It's you were killing it during Helene and all that. So good, all the power to you. Me, I've been working a ton. I've been doing a lot of commercial stuff. I got a condominium, 10 or 11 building condominium. I've been doing some other condominium stuff like 3-story homes that are owned by a third party. So they own the outside building. They're responsible for any of the major damages, but the owner owns the unit. So it's very bizarre. It's very third party, but he's insuring the property for all the, for all the basic stuff. The drywall, the trim, flooring, all that. If they've done upgrades to the unit, he doesn't cover any of the upgrades. He only covers the basics of the unit that were there when the person bought the property. So it's a weird insurance, but so what you'll have is you have a toilet flow or a water heater bust on the 3rd floor, floods the units below, the main unit, the 2nd unit, and 3rd unit. And we go in, and because it's the owner owns the property, he's responsible for all those repairs except for the upgrades. It's the weirdest policy, and yet the owners of each unit have bought the place. So figure that one out. It's just bizarre. I've never worked those types of claims before, but they pay time and expense, so you're writing 3 floor plans. A lot of times they're the same floor plan, so it's easy. But you're writing 3 separate estimates for the 3 units that are damaged. Dealing with contents, sometimes, depending on if the owner is willing to pay a portion of those contents, but most of the time not. But it's been over in Greensboro, so it's an hour and a half drive. So I get paid for all that time. I get paid for writing 3 estimates, and then they pay $125. Doing it. So now you got an owner. This is an hour and 15 minutes after I called him and said, hey, your property manager and your tenant weren't at the property when I went to visit. And now an hour and 15 minutes later, he decides to call me. Sorry, buddy. You're getting charged. You're getting charged for that inspection. And then I'm going to charge you again when I have to come back out. So yeah, so those are the frustrations of these claims. It's different if you're close by, like you're 30 minutes away, I get it. You can pop it in or fit it into another one of your inspections. But this one is just totally out of my area and in the opposite direction, and I rarely go to this area. So that's why I did it on Saturdays, so I could just get it done. It wasn't near any of my other claims, and then they don't show up. That's just bogus. So that kind of sucks. Well, a good time today, scalloping. I've never been that. That sounds interesting. I'm not much of a seafood person. I like fish. I like red snapper. And that's in the Gulf, so that's a good fish you can catch for me. Or tuna. Catch me a tuna. Well, if you catch a tuna, you can turn it in and sell it. I can make a fortune. Tunas are awesome. Yeah, I went deep sea fishing when I was in Texas with a guy who owned a charter boat that he would do offshore fishing with people. So there was 3 owners of this boat. It was an 88-foot, like, supercharged fishing boat. I mean, this thing had 2,000 horsepower, 5 engines. Yeah, it was 5 engines. It was 5 engines at like 250, I think, each. 250 or 300 horsepower each. Maybe in 300s. Anyways, we could do like 70, 80 miles an hour on the water with this thing. I mean, it was just heavy. So anyway, so fishing with him, we left early, left at 6 in the morning, and he told me, he says, we're going to go out by the, how far are they out? And he goes, oh, about 100 miles. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, it takes a couple hours to get. It's amazing, and maybe we'll catch tuna. Well, we'll catch some red snapper like you wouldn't believe. They love hanging around. The tunas love hanging around the oil rigs. So I had never been out deep sea fishing like that before, and so I was pretty excited. So I brought my son with me, and so we went out. He had his son, and then his dad was coming out too. So there was only 5 of us out there, and so it was really cool. So we were driving out there. The water's just like glass. 6 o'clock in the morning. It's the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America now, whatever you want to call it. And you know, he fires that hour in a heartbeat, and I'm like, damn, I've never been on a boat doing 50 miles an hour before. It felt like we were doing 100. And he's like, oh, this isn't the top. He says, we can do about 85 on here if we go full out. And anyway, so he says, yeah, well, maybe we'll do full blast on the way back or whatever. And I was like, hell, that's crazy. So about 2 hours it took us to get out there. So about 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, sun rises up. It's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. We get out there, and he's got it mapped on his fishing GPS exactly where we're going to go, because he saved the spot, because he said every time I come here, I literally just drop down my fishing rod and we catch something. And so anyway, so he says, you ever fished red snapper? And I said, no, never. Never even heard of the fish. And he goes, well, he says, they're quite a fighter. And so, you know, these rods are really, I just want to let you know, the rods are really expensive, so make sure you hold on to your rod. And I'm like, is this a big fish? And he's like, you will be surprised. I'm going to leave it up to the fact that when you get your first one, I want you to tell me how big a fish you think is on the end of your hook. So I was like, that's interesting. And so I'm thinking, maybe these are really, really big fish. Maybe, you know, I didn't know. So anyway, so sure enough, he cuts up some fish, throws those in the water, so to bait some fish to come, and then he says, you don't really have to cast much. He says, just throw it out, and the weight on it will take it down to the bottom, and just hold on to the rod. And I tell you, 30 seconds, that thing was in the water, and I get a pull that about yanked me over the boat. Honestly, I was not ready for that. And I was like, whoa, holy moly, what in the world? And he goes, yep, you got a red snapper. And I was like, are you sure? I said, don't we have a shark or something? And he's like, no, that's red snapper. That's what they do. They grab it and run. So he's telling me how to do it. He says, you know, just let the drag go a little bit, and you know, when they let up a little bit, you know, wheel it in and stuff. But just, you know, just fight with them a little bit. Just hold on. He says they'll tuck her out, you know, within about a minute. And I was like, okay. Well, we're talking about a full pull. Like, I'm bracing myself against the side of the boat. He's standing behind me to make sure I don't go over. I mean, I'm 240 pounds at that time, and this thing's about pulling me over the boat. And he says, I told you. He says, they got a lot of fight in them. And he says, I wonder what size you have. He says, this is a pretty good pull. You know, rod's bent over, zipping away, you know, burning through the drag, and, you know, it's just going. And I'm like, do you think I should let up on the drag? And he's like playing with it. He goes, no, we got lots of line, let it go. And you know, he's tightening it up a little bit. And so he's he's coaching me the whole time. He's kind of got his arm, you know, kind of close to me, like in case I go over. So he's got me. He's just, all he says is just hold on to the rod. And I'm like, okay, I got the rod. I'm not gonna let it go. Anyway, so then after, just like you said, about a minute, it lets up. And I'm like, what happened? Did I lose it? He goes, no, he's tired. So he says, start winding it in. So I'm winding it in. He's giving a little pull here and there, whatever, and pulling it in, pulling it in, pulling it in. And then we get all the way up into the thing. He's got his spear and he's got his net. You know, he didn't know what size it was going to be either. And so, sure enough, fish comes up. That sucker's not this big. I mean, nothing. It was this dinky little, maybe 10 pounder, maybe 10 pounds. And he says, dude, that's a small one. And I said, are you kidding me? He said, that thing about ripped me out of the boat. And he goes, oh, you ain't seen nothing. He says, well, you got a big one on there. He says, you might be going swimming. So anyways, really funny. And ended up, you know, just loving it. We caught all sorts of fish. Really fun. And then sure enough, on the way back, he loaded, you know, he was firing up the boat. We were doing about 80 miles an hour on the way back, and it was totally insane. The boat we were on was totally amazing. That was in the Gulf. So that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. But then when I got back to the, you know, he was filling up the gas, and he was like, yeah, it uses up a lot of gas. And he you know, pulls up, fills it up. It's like $1,200 in gas one day that we spent on that trip. And I was like, oh my goodness. I said, you want me to help you with gas? And he goes, no, it's my treat. And he said, this is what it costs to run these big boats, you know, that with all these motors. He said, it's really expensive. He said, that's why when we had the charter, you know, we were charging people quite a bit of money because they had to cover the gas and they cover our time running out there. So he said charter was really profitable, but it was very expensive upkeep on the house or on the boat and the motors and oil change. That was my best experience with